was, and I was scared, and I was trying to call my mom, but I couldn't because I was so scared. I think she's gonna hate me.
Okay. What made you think that?
Just because I just turned 18. I haven't been 18 for a month. I put it in the bag. I took it to the car. When I was in the car, I had 2 trash bags. Okay. I took one with me, which is the one that I had, and then I put it again, and then I drove around and I didn't know what to do, and I just put it in there.
Where'd you throw the garbage bag?
In the trash.
In the trash? Okay, did you lock it up, seal it up? Okay, were you by yourself in the car?
I was by myself the whole time.
Okay. You never notified anybody?
No.
Okay.
She tried to explain that she panicked after giving birth alone.
And I'm in a panic. There's a baby in front of me.
Okay. You never notified your mom?
Never.
No, you never notified anybody?
Nobody.
Okay, so it's not normal behavior from any reasonable person to do what you did.
What do you mean?
It's not.
In a panic when I just turned 18?
Right. It still isn't, though. We're talking about a baby.
Well, I know what you mean, but I found out I was pregnant yesterday.
Okay.
Because I heard it. The doctor showed me. I knew back in whenever, but I didn't know. Does that make sense? I was like, oh, it's whatever.
She was charged with attempted first-degree murder and child abuse causing great harm. During the trial, she tearfully admitted her guilt.
I regret that I had to miss out on every first milestone the baby had and that I deprived him of motherly love. I regret that his first hours of life were traumatic, and I regret that he will always have this in the back of his head.
Before sentencing, the judge delivered a harsh truth that echoed through the room.
This was a heinous crime. To toss one's own child into a dumpster like trash, it is an unforgivable event by any mother.
And with that, her fate was sealed.
This is probably the cruelest of all mitigating factors. You've given yourself a life sentence of knowing what you did with your child. And you've also given your son that same life sentence.
While Avila tried to throw away her newborn child in secret, this is 17-year-old Mackenzie Sharilla, a Strongsville, Ohio teen whose deadly crash was ruled anything but an accident. In the early hours of July 31st, 2022, cameras captured her Toyota Camry drifting slowly through an empty industrial park. Inside were her boyfriend Dominic Russo and their friend Davian Flanagan. Everything seemed still until Mackenzie pushed the accelerator to the floor. The car shot past 100 miles per hour in seconds before smashing headfirst into a building. The impact was so violent that Dominic and Davion were killed instantly. Mackenzie survived with serious injuries, trapped in the wreck when officers arrived. At first, the crash looked like a tragic mistake, but investigators noticed there were no brake marks, no swerving, no attempt to stop. Nothing pointed to panic or loss of control. Mackenzie was arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. During the trial, Judge Nancy Margaret Russo studied the footage and gave a chilling explanation of what happened.
The defendant controlled all the events. She chose the day. Specifically, she chose a date just before her 18th birthday. She chose to drive the car, the time to drive the car. She chose an obscure, previously scouted route through an industrial parkway. She chose the target to hit and the victims. She chose the means and the method to follow through. The review of the evidence supports the factual findings. There was no medical condition that caused this as an accident. A failed suicide attempt is not a defense to murder. With Mackenzie, that you will spend the rest of your life in prison.
Mackenzie's mother begged the court to show mercy, trying to convince them her daughter was not a killer.
Your Honor, this was a terrible, tragic nightmare accident to have happened that she has no memory of, and she will never emotionally or physically recover of it. She almost died too, and we're asking that you please not run the sentences consecutive. He was family, and we all loved each other. Mackenzie herself apologized through tears.
I wish I could remember what happened. I'm just so sorry. I'm heartbroken. I love Dom and Davion. We were all friends, and Dom was my soulmate. I wish I could take all your pain away, and I'm so sorry.
While Mackenzie's case involved a deadly crash, this next one centers on 16-year-old Rachel Schoaf, a West Virginia teen whose motive was just as shocking as the murder itself.
I'm so sorry. I don't know if there's a proper way to make this apology because there are not even words to describe the guilt and remorse that I feel each day for what I've done.
On July 6, 2012, 16-year-old Skylar Neese climbed out her bedroom window after midnight. A nearby camera captured her getting into a car with her two best friends, Rachel Schoaf and Sheila Eddy. That was the last time she was ever seen alive. For months, Skylar was listed as a runaway. Rachel and Sheila lied again and again, telling everyone they dropped her off an hour later.
Rachel and Sheila drove around Star City and in the area, preparing themselves. They had concealed knives on their bodies that had been wrapped in towels by Sheila Eddy, and they took that shovel with them, and they arrived at Skylar's home and told her they were waiting for her. They were waiting to kill her.
But it all fell apart on January 3, 2013, when Rachel finally broke. She confessed that she and Sheila had planned Skylar's murder for weeks. They hid knives under towels, put a shovel in the trunk, and drove Skylar deep into rural Pennsylvania, while pretending they were just going for a late-night ride. Rachel then led investigators to a wooded area near the West Virginia border where officers found Skylar's remains under a pile of branches. She'd been stabbed more than 50 times before her body was dragged and hidden. In court, Rachel looked shaken as she faced Skylar's parents. She pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in exchange for helping the police recover the body. She was sentenced to 30 years in prison with a chance at parole after 10.
It is the sentence of the court that you be imprisoned in the West Virginia State Penitentiary for a period of 30 years.
She became eligible in 2023, but was denied and remains behind bars today. While Rachel's case involved months of planning and betrayal, this next teen committed something even darker and claimed a demonic force pushed him to do it.
So we began to prove our allegiance to Satan by breaking God's commandments. And in the end, there was only one that remained unbroken.
This is 16-year-old Sean Sellers, one of the youngest offenders ever sentenced to death in the United States. In the early hours of March 5, 1986, Oklahoma City police entered the home of Vonda and Lee Belafato after a family member sensed something was wrong. Inside their bedroom, officers found them both shot in the head as they slept. The killer was not an intruder. It was their own son. Investigators learned that Sean used a .357 Magnum revolver, shooting his stepfather first, then his mother when the noise woke her.
So we began to prove our allegiance to Satan by breaking God's commandments. And in the end, there was only one that remained unbroken.
When detectives pushed him, he finally confessed not only to killing his parents, but also to shooting a store clerk a year earlier after being refused a beer sale. He said he had been studying the Satanic Bible and was deep into occult beliefs.
You shall not murder. So in the Satanic Bible, the copy I had, I think they have edited that out of it since then, but the copy that I had...
At trial, his defense argued he was lost in fantasy and dark rituals, but prosecutors said the murders were planned, not possessed, not confused, and not out of control. In September 1986, Sean Sellers was convicted of 3 murders and sentenced to death. For 13 years he appealed, claimed religious change, and showed remorse, but every request for mercy was denied. On February 5, 1999, at age 29, he was executed by lethal injection. If you want more real courtroom reactions like these, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay with us for the next story.
My hope, my prayer for my birthday present is to get word that you are dead. And I hope that it's the most painful judgment ever.
The defendant should be sentenced to life with the possibility of parole after 35 years. This sentence is permissible under the Iowa law. A 35-year mandatory minimum is not cruel and unusual punishment for the defendant.
And 1 warrant for felony murder. Because of those warrants, those are the charges that are pending right now.
This is 17-year-old Frenecha Torres from Suwanee, Georgia. Together with 17-year-old Nicholas Evans and 18-year-old Khalil Miller, he robbed and murdered 21-year-old William A. Tunchez.
Gwinnett County Police say the 3 teens had committed other armed robberies nearby, and those crimes led police to charge the teens with attacking and killing Tunchez.
According to Detective Micah Hegwood, on October 7, 2018, Evans and Miller lured Tunchez from Lawrenceville to a wooded walking path in a Suwanee subdivision, promising him an intimate experience with Torres for $300. When Tunchez arrived, Evans pointed a gun at him, and Miller hit him over the head with a stick. Tunchez started wrestling for the gun, and the gun went off. Tunchez was shot in the neck. Evans, Miller, and Torres took Tunchez's belongings and fled, leaving Tunchez bleeding out on the path. Tunchez's body was discovered the next day by children along the Gwinnett Trail, but not before Miller returned to the scene for a second look.
We do believe it was a set-up robbery, and all three were identified as being at the scene.
Torres appeared surprised in court when her charges were read. Let's rewind and watch her reaction again.
And 1 warrant for felony murder. Because of those warrants, those are the charges that are pending right now.
Torres was initially charged with 2 counts of armed robbery, while Evans and Miller were each initially charged with 1 count of armed robbery and aggravated assault. However, after gathering enough evidence, the police added felony murder charges to the list for all 3. While that teen's reaction was dramatic, this one offered a good, old-fashioned, emotionless apology.
This is how I would like the court to know that no one understands how difficult this has been for her. She had to be strong for her children when the initial shock of this incident was told to her. And she never, through that process, having 2 other sons, had the process of having the opportunity to grieve.
This is 17-year-old Christian Martinez Chavez from Gresham, Oregon, who killed Jose Morales with a single shot from a .22 caliber rifle.
Also here, 2 Gresham police officers were here earlier as a precaution. One cop had told me that people here called authorities after some suspicious people were driving by.
On July 29, 2017, the Gresham police arrived at the intersection of Southeast 187th Avenue and Stark Street, where they came across Morales' body. Later, a Gresham officer pulled over a white Chrysler Sebring with 3 teens and a 20-year-old barely a quarter mile from where Morales had been found. One of the teens had blood on him, and the officer could see the rifle behind the driver's seat. According to court documents, Morales had punched Martinez Chavez in the face earlier that evening. Seeking retaliation, the 4 went to the home of one of them, retrieved the rifle, and went after Morales.
Morales' grandmother, Adelie Enriquez, described to us the day Jose was born prematurely. He had asthma and was starting to die. She then gave little Jose CPR and saved his life. Enriquez just wishes she could help again the way she did 17 years ago.
Several witnesses identified Martinez Chavez as the shooter. Before the sentencing, Martinez Chavez apologized to the family and wished things had gone differently.
Yeah, I just want to apologize to the family, I hope they could have played out differently. I'm sorry.
Christian Martinez Chavez officially changed his plea and accepted a manslaughter charge. He was sentenced to 16 years in prison.
As for the 4 people who were arrested, they're between the ages of 15 and 20. They're all facing murder charges.
As for the other defendants, Isai Guzman Ramirez appeared in court to change his plea, while the other 2, Francisco Martinez Chavez, Christian's brother, and Obed Garcia Antonio, went to trial. This teen took things further, crying while reading his statement.
I understood that he had the intent to kill Mrs. Graber. Aiden had brought a bat, among other supplies, to go through with the murder. And after he had struck Nohima Graber.
This is 17-year-old Willard Miller from Iowa, who murdered his Spanish teacher, 66-year-old Nohima Graber from Fairfield High School. According to the prosecution, Miller and a fellow high school student, 18-year-old Jeremy Goodale, used a bat to kill Graber after stalking her as she took her daily walk in a large park in Fairfield, a small Iowa city about 100 miles southeast of Des Moines. After getting a poor grade in Graber's class, Miller grew frustrated because it would prevent him from participating in a study abroad program. He thus suggested that the 2 kill Graber.
We discussed the general plan of I'll stand up here, look out, walk up behind her, and then I think we walked back out onto the trail to wait for Ms. Graber to show up.
According to witness reports, the duo was later spotted in the front seat of Graber's van, driving out of the park. The next day, Graber's body was found in the park under a tarp, a wheelbarrow, and railroad ties, where the teens had dragged her body and hidden it. Graber's van was abandoned on a desolate road that the teens used to walk back to town.
On November 2nd of 2021, I met Willard Miller at Chautauqua Park,
I understood that he had the intent to kill Mrs. Graber. Shaden had brought a bat, among other supplies, to go through with the murder. And after he had struck Nohima Graber, we then moved her off of the trail, where I then struck her.
According to court documents, the deceased suffered inflicted trauma to the head.
I would like to take this opportunity to wholeheartedly accept responsibility for the role that I've played in the murder of Nohima Graber. I would like to apologize for my actions, first and foremost, to the family. I'm sincerely sorry for the distress that I've caused you and the devastation I've caused your family. And from the bottom of my heart, I am sorry for your loss. I'm sorry to hear about Paul Graber.
During a hearing before Judge Sean Showers, video footage shows Willard Miller's emotionless reaction to his life-changing sentencing.
The defendant, Willard Noble Chaden Miller, should be sentenced to life with the possibility of parole after 35 years. This sentence is permissible under the Iowa law. A 35-year mandatory minimum is not cruel and unusual punishment for the defendant, as it represents the appropriate time of incarceration for the defendant in Mr. Goodell's premeditated murder.
Jeremy Goodale was sentenced to life in prison with a possibility of parole in 25 years. During his sentencing, he spoke amidst tears.
Every day I wish I could go back and stop myself, prevent this loss and this pain that I've caused everyone.
If you thought that was shocking, wait until you see how this teenage school shooter reacted during sentencing. This is 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz from Florida.
Alright, so here's the plan. I'm gonna go take an Uber in the afternoon before 2:40. From there I'll go onto school campus, walk up the stairs, unload my bags, and get my AR and shoot people down at the main courtyard. Wait, and people will die. Location is Stone Douglas in Parkland, Florida. It's gonna be a big event.
He murdered 17 people at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland with an AR-15 style rifle. On February 14th, 2018, Cruz entered Stoneman High, which he had been expelled from, armed with a rifle, and began firing at students and teachers indiscriminately. He targeted classrooms and hallways, resulting in the deaths of 14 students, 3 staff, and injuries to many others.
If we can't protect our children in schools, then who can we protect?
Despite the seriousness of the situation, a code red lockdown was not promptly declared due to confusion over who had the authority.
Doors unlocked, the gates open, allowing Cruz to get inside undetected.
He got into the 1200 building because that door was unlocked and unstaffed, and that we say that that is a security failure.
Cruz pulled a fire alarm to draw students into the hallways, increasing the number of potential victims. Several students initially believed it was just another drill, which slowed their reaction. Surveillance footage later showed Cruz discarding his rifle and vest before exiting the building and briefly mixing with fleeing students, which initially complicated identification efforts.
What's going on? What's going on today, bro?
The demons, man.
Demons?
Voices. Where am I? Holy what happened?
Shut up. Just be quiet, man.
Responding officers had to rely on witness descriptions and radioed sightings before locating him in a nearby residential area and taking him into custody.
My hope, my prayer for my birthday present is to get word that you are dead. That the justice system was done in jail. That the prisoners that you and inmates that you have to associate with executed the judgment that this court can't. And I hope that it's the most painful judgment ever.
Cruz pleaded guilty to premeditated murder, and while appearing before Judge Elizabeth Scherer for sentencing, he appeared disturbingly calm.
Count 1 of the indictment, the murder in the first degree of Luke Hoyer, the court imposes a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. Mr. Cruz, you are remanded to the custody of the Department of Corrections to complete the mandatory life sentences imposed by the court.
Check out this video to keep enjoying more reactions from the courtroom.
A 15-year-old child knew he was being dragged back into a house and was going to die.
It's not that I don't want to say it because I don't want to make myself seem guilty. I just don't really like saying it. So you shoot him? Yes.
It is therefore ordered that you shall be put to death by electrocution and the mode prescribed by law, and that you shall be transferred to the custody of the warden. Mr. Bates, Mrs. Pike,
Can I please have my mom before I go?
Mr. Bates, please hold Miss Pike in the dock.
Please, let me just find my mom.
This is 18-year-old Krista Pike. On January 12, 1995, in a remote patch of the University of Tennessee's agricultural campus in Knoxville, as a Job Corps student, she carried out one of the most brutal murders in modern juvenile crime. Driven by a fierce and obsessive jealousy, Pike was convinced that 19-year-old Colleen Slemmer was trying to steal her boyfriend, 17-year-old Daryl Shipp. Angry and paranoid, Pike enlisted Shipp and their 18-year-old friend Shadala Peterson to lure Slemmer away from the Knoxville Job Corps Center. But upon reaching a secluded part of the woods, Pike led an assault on Slemmer, beating her, slicing her with a box cutter, and even carving a pentagram into her chest.
At first, I thought they just were scared. At first, from the jump, that's what I thought. But we got up there, everything changed.
There was a picture that was cut on her chest. Who did that?
I did have that.
All right, don't tell me what it was.
It was,
The torture dragged on for approximately an hour before Slemmer died. Pike quickly bragged about the murder to other students, even showing a piece of Slemmer's skull as a souvenir. Word spread fast, and investigators were notified.
It did not involve a university student. It did not occur on the bike trail. It was not a random or a stranger-to-stranger incident. The motive of the crime appears to be a love triangle. It appears that both of the females involved had been involved with the 17-year-old male.
All three were arrested within 36 hours, with Pike giving detailed statements.
I knew exactly what I was doing. Everything that I did that night, I knew what I was doing. And I think I was taking things out on her that had happened to me years ago.
She was convicted of first-degree murder in 1996. During her trial, Pike showed little remorse, sometimes smiling, appearing cold and detached as prosecutors described the torture. However, her reaction during her sentencing was starkly different.
It is therefore ordered that you shall be put to death by electrocution. Mr. Bates, Mrs. Pike,
Can I please have my mom before I go?
Mr. Bates, please hold Miss Pike in the dock.
Please, let me just find my mom.
Please hold Miss Pike in the dock.
I love you. I love you too. And I love you too.
Pike was sentenced to death by electrocution, becoming the youngest woman on death row in the U.S. at the time. She remains the only woman on death row in Tennessee, her warrant set to be carried out September 30th, 2026, at the Riverbend Maximum Security Institution in Nashville. But that's not the only time a teenager got a life sentence for committing murder. This is 18-year-old Michael Bargo. In April 2011, in the quiet community of Summerfield, Florida, he orchestrated one of the most disturbing teen-on-teen murders in the state's history.
A 15-year-old child knew he was being dragged back into a house and was going to die.
The victim was 15-year-old Seth Jackson, a boy he saw as a romantic rival. Bargo and Bargo's girlfriend, Amber Wright, were entangled in a messy love triangle, creating resentment and violent obsession. Bargo used Amber to lure Seth to a home through text messages, pretending she wanted to talk. When Scythe walked inside, Bargo, Amber, Amber's brother Kyle Hooper, and the home's owner, Charlie Ely, beat him violently before Bargo shot him multiple times.
A
15-year-old child knew he was being dragged back into a house and was going to die.
Police quickly suspected foul play when Seath went missing.
Said he hit him over the back of the head with a 2x4, and then they lifted him up, put him in a recliner, and then started basically talking trash to him. And then he said when he was tired of it, he pulled out a gun, just shot him 3 times.
All 5 were arrested within days, with Bargo identified as the mastermind. During his verdict, Bargo appeared angry, tense, and defiant. Bargo was sentenced to death in 2013. If you thought that was crazy, wait until you see this teenager who carried out one of the deadliest hate-motivated attacks in modern American history.
I went to that church in Charleston. I did it.
This is Dylan Roof. On June 17, 2015, inside the historic Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina, 21-year-old Dylan Roof killed multiple people. That evening, the church hosted its usual midweek Bible study, a small welcoming gathering that had been running for generations. Roof entered quietly, sitting among 9 African-American parishioners, including the senior pastor, Reverend Clementa C. Pinckney, who was also a South Carolina state senator. For nearly an hour, Roof listened as they prayed, but Roof arrived with a racist mission. Influenced by white supremacist ideology, he had spent months consuming extremist content, writing a manifesto, and telling investigators later that he hoped his actions would ignite a race war. Then, when the prayer session ended, he suddenly stood up, pulled out a gun, and started firing indiscriminately at the congregation.
I went to that church in Charleston. I did it.
Did what? Well, I know it's tough sometimes to say.
It's not that I don't want to say it because I don't want to make myself seem guilty. I just don't really like saying it.
So did you shoot him?
Yes.
What kind of gun did you use?
A Glock 45.
The attack shocked the nation, and police launched a multi-state manhunt that would stretch on for hours. The next day, someone in North Carolina recognized his car and alerted police. He was arrested without incident. However, during his trial, Roof insisted on representing himself and showed no remorse for the victims or their families, and instead put on a flat expression. 5 years after Roof's crime shocked the nation, another horrific double murder would shake the country. This is Taylor Parker.
I found a woman this morning on the side of the road, and her baby had been removed from her body. And then you show up with a baby.
On October 9th, 2020, in New Boston, Texas, then 27-year-old Parker carried out one of the most chilling crimes in recent American history. For about 10 months, she had successfully convinced her boyfriend as well as close family and friends that she was pregnant. She had gone as far as attend doctor's appointments, produced ultrasounds, and held a baby shower. But none of it was real. It was all an elaborate plan to keep her boyfriend. And as her supposed due date grew nearer, Parker grew desperate. So that fateful morning, Parker drove to her friend, 21-year-old Reagan Hancock's place. Inside, she violently attacked a heavily pregnant Reagan, beating her in the head multiple times until she collapsed. Then, using a scalpel she had brought with her, Parker cut open Reagan's abdomen and removed the nearly full-term baby girl, Braxlyn Sage Hancock, and fled with her, leaving Reagan to bleed out on her living room floor.
What's your name?
Taylor Parker.
Taylor? Hey, my name's Chad Stansby. I'm a OSBI agent up here, and I heard you brought your baby in. Did you give birth on the side of the road or something?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Where was that here? In McCurtain County?
No, it was in DeKalb.
DeKalb, down in Texas?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. So what happened this morning? Did you just go into labor on the side of the road or something?
No, I was supposed to ride with my fiance, and we own a hog buying facility, and we were gonna come through here, but I was having contractions and stuff and wasn't feeling good, so I stayed at home and told him we would just meet here after he dropped the hogs at 7.
However, hospital staff were suspicious when she was reluctant to be checked out by doctors.
The nurses said that you weren't wanting to let the doctor check you to make sure you weren't hemorrhaging or anything.
They did an ultrasound.
The hemorrhaging is the bleeding, whether you're passing clots or not passing clots. It's really good to have you checked for that, because I know I was passing massive clots and they were about to start giving me blood. That's why they're wanting to check out, any damage, and check to make sure you're not bleeding inside internally.
Eventually, doctors realized she hadn't in fact given birth, and her elaborate scheme fell apart.
Why did you tell the lady you were pregnant? It's just you wishful thinking and you really just want to be pregnant that bad. What was the deal there? You feel movement? Made you think you were pregnant?
Something's wrong with me. I don't know why I did it. I don't know what's wrong with me. Because I've never been a bad person.
During her sentencing, Parker appeared remorseful as she wiped away tears, a stark contrast to the brutality of the attack that killed both mother and child. While Parker got a death sentence, this teen killer got not 1, but 6 consecutive life sentences. This is Russell Burrell. On July 30th, 2012, inside an apartment on Providence's west side, then 16-year-old Burrell carried out a triple murder that would make him one of Rhode Island's youngest defendants ever charged with such a brutal crime. Armed with a loaded 9mm Glock, along with 2 others, Quandle Husband and Donovan Hall, broke into Michael Martin's apartment with the plan of stealing marijuana and cash believed to be inside his home. However, when they knocked on the door that night, they expected to find only Martin. Burrell shot Martin and his guest. There were also 3 young children in the apartment at the time, but they were luckily unharmed. Burrell was arrested soon after the attack, with detectives identifying him as the gunman. During the trial, Burrell remained quiet, showing minimal emotion as prosecutors described the killings. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe and check out the next one.
As to count 1, we, the jury, sentence the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole.
You will have a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole for 25 years.
If she were paroled, nothing would stop her from walking into a school. Nothing would stop her from walking into a shopping mall. Nothing would stop her from walking into the grocery stores. Nothing would stop her from being in the movie theaters. Ladies and gentlemen, she is dangerous.
This is Carly Gregg, sentenced to life in prison without parole after killing her mother. On March 19, 2024, in Mississippi, Carly Gregg, then 14 years old, entered the bedroom of her 40-year-old mother, Ashley Smiley, and shot her 3 times with her own gun. Surveillance footage at the home shows Gregg getting inside, hiding the gun behind her back, and walking into her mother's bedroom. Shortly after, the sounds of death echo through the house. Seconds later, pretending to be her mother, Gregg texted her stepfather, 39-year-old Heath Smiley, to come home, only to open fire at him when he arrived. Luckily, the stepfather was only grazed on the shoulder and would later reveal that Gregg was screaming hysterically when he arrived.
Hey, I need you to talk to me. What is your son wearing?
He was in jeans and a grayish t-shirt. She's got short brownish hair.
So, jeans, a gray t-shirt, short brown hair.
She ran into the backyard. I tried to follow her. She jumped the fence and ran. She shot me in the neck.
It was like she had seen a demon or something, and my first thought was there was an intruder somewhere, and she thought she was after somebody else. After failing on her second mission, Gregg fled, but was later arrested near her home.
Look, let me step out real quick for me. Ask you a bunch of questions, but obviously you fired with a pistol, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Which hand did you shoot with?
During her sentencing in Rankin County, Greg's defense told jurors that the shooting occurred when Greg was in the midst of a mental health crisis.
We're hoping that she'd get sent to the state hospital because that was one of the options on the verdict. But the jury chose not to utilize that option. She can get some treatment. We just don't know what it would be.
However, District Attorney had some harsh words for her.
If she were paroled, nothing would stop her from walking into a school. Nothing would stop her from walking into a shopping mall. Nothing would stop her from walking into the grocery stores. Nothing would stop her from being in the movie theaters. Ladies and gentlemen, she is dangerous.
The jurors found her guilty on all counts, including first-degree murder, attempted murder, and tampering with evidence, as Greg had hidden the footage after the shooting. As her sentence was read, Greg broke down in tears, an unusual reaction for someone who seemed to know exactly what she was doing when committing the heinous crimes.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment.
But despite breaking down in tears as the verdict and sentence were read, the prosecution argued the sentence was appropriate because Greg had shown zero remorse. This next kid did something even stranger. She prayed while on trial for killing his grandmother.
14-year-old Sofia Koval openly prayed in court as she waited for her case to be called.
This baby-faced 14-year-old is Sofia Koval, a Florida teen charged with second-degree murder after she beat her grandmother to death. On May 25, 2024, Sofia was alone with her grandmother, 79-year-old Yevgenia Koval, at her condo when she alleged her grandmother scratched her, prompting her to retaliate in self-defense. When Vladimir Koval, Yevgenia's son and Sofia's father, came home shortly after midnight, he found the elderly woman bruised and battered.
A teenager is accused of killing her grandmother, and she was recently in a court for a change of plea hearing.
After a medical examiner ruled the demise a homicide, Sofia was taken into custody. It later emerged that she'd been acting up, and her father had confiscated her phone to discipline her hours before the assault.
File paperwork is called U4U, for refugee from war from Ukraine. Western Ukraine, you have to understand, Your Honor, it's not Eastern Ukraine, it's big different. She didn't sleep at night. She screamed, "Mama, Mama," and I have no control. I did everything possible. I contact psychiatrist.
I can say I'm sorry. I can sympathize with your losses, but there's nothing that's going to repair or take them back or make it better.
In June 2024, Sofia appeared in court for a hearing, only to do something that caught the courtroom by surprise. This 14-year-old mass shooter's reaction is even more chilling.
That 14-year-old that committed this crime is maybe not the same human being now, 25 years later, as an adult. And that is something the law understands and the law contemplates, is that adults don't make the same decisions that juveniles do.
This is Michael Carneal, who is serving a life sentence for fatally shooting 3 classmates and wounding another 5 at Heath High School in Kentucky on December 1st, 1997. Carneal wrapped a shotgun and a rifle in a blanket and took them to school, passing them off as an art project he was working on. At around 7:45 a.m., he inserted earplugs into his ears and fired at a group of students 10 times using a Ruger MK 2.22 caliber pistol. Before the incident, Carneal, a freshman at the time, had warned that something big is going to happen on Monday, but no one had taken him seriously. He eventually pulled through with his plan, and upon arrest, he made a full confession without offering any explanation.
I put in the clip and turned off the safety and cocked it, and then just started firing.
When appearing in court for his sentencing, one of the victims, 15-year-old Melissa Jenkins, who was paralyzed from the chest down after the shooting, had some very unexpected words for Carneal.
I don't have any hard feelings towards you. I'm just upset that this happened.
That day, she promised to live, and she has.
I'm very, very happy with my life, and I'm happy with everything that's come with it. I think that it's a choice on, how you live your life, and I chose to be happy.
Carneal appeared emotionless throughout his sentencing, avoiding eye contact with the judge as he handed down his sentence.
He will have a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole for 25 years.
Because of his age at the time of sentencing, Carneal was allowed parole 25 years later in September 2022. However, the Kentucky Parole Board voted to deny parole to then 39-year-old Carneal and ordered him to serve out his full life sentence. Earlier, while arguing for his release, Carneal had told the board members that voices in his head told him to shoot his schoolmates.
I don't remember firing the gun or how many times I fired it, but the next thing I remember is people laying on the ground.
When was the last time that you heard one of these voices that told you to do something harmful?
A couple of days ago.
Do you recall what that voice told you to do?
Jump off the stairs.
As recent as 2 days ago, you're saying voices are still telling you to do harmful things.
Yeah, it's not something I have acted on in a very long time.
Like Carneal, this next kid killed his classmate and was not sorry for his heinous crime.
We're having fun in a f***ing cop car.
Yep. Tristan.
What's up, guys? Tristan, if you f***ing walk out the damn...
When you see this in a month...
This is 14-year-old Aiden Fucci, who is accused of killing her classmate, 13-year-old Tristan Bailey, by stabbing her a whopping 114 times. On May 9th, 2021 in Florida, Fucci lured Bailey from her home by lying to her that they were going to meet a friend. After failing to find her at home, Bailey's family reported her missing, only for her dead body to be discovered in a wooded area the next day. A residential surveillance camera footage captured Fucci and Bailey walking down a street. The footage led the police to Fucci, and after an investigation, he emerged as the main suspect. Fucci was then arrested, but on the way to the station, Fucci would do something shocking at the back of a patrol car. Despite knowing very well that he'd stabbed and killed Bailey, Fucci mocked her demise during his sentencing for the murder of Bailey.
We're having fun in a f***ing cop car.
Yep. Tristan.
What's up, guys? Tristan, if you f***ing walk out the damn...
When you see this in a month...
One of her siblings, Alexis, dropped 114 Aquastone hearts into a glass jar one by one to represent the stab wounds her sister endured.
This jar now holds 114 stones, one for each of the 114 stab wounds that my sister had to endure.
A while later, when the judge spelt out his sentence, Fucci was emotionless and looked at the judge with an expressionless face.
Mr. Fucci, having entered a plea of guilty to the crime of first-degree murder, I adjudicate you guilty of the premeditated first-degree murder of Tristan Bailey. I sentence you to life in prison. Because of your age, you are eligible for review of the sentence in 25 years. I order the Department of Corrections to notify you when you are eligible to apply for your review hearing.
If you enjoy courtroom reaction videos like this one, like, subscribe, and watch this video.
I hate you for the pain you've caused, Nick. You chased him down the hall and fired the last bullet that paralyzed him. Why? Why did you do it? Why?
Saying you pulled the trigger, the killer's done. He's now masturbating to memory.
Hate everyone and everything. With the power of my AR, you will all know who I am. My name is Nick, and I'm going to be the next school shooter of 2018.
This is Nicholas Cruz. On February 14th, 2018, at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida.
Gentlemen, do not approach the 12 or 1300 buildings. Stay at least 500 feet away at this point.
19-year-old Cruz committed one of the deadliest school shootings in U.S. history. Previously expelled from the school for behavioral issues, Cruz arrived on campus minutes after 2 p.m. He entered the freshman building and began stalking the hallways and classrooms, firing at anyone he saw.
Holy...
Oh my God!
Students hid behind desks, teachers tried to shield their classes, and staff members attempted to lock doors. Within 6 minutes, Cruz had murdered 17 people, including 14 students and 3 staff members, and wounded 17 more. It's not clear whether Cruz acted solely out of anger and a desire for revenge over social rejection. Investigators have also pointed to brain damage linked to fetal alcohol spectrum disorder and long-term mental health struggles. Cruz fled the school by blending in with fleeing students but was recognized soon after in a nearby residential area. Police detained him without resistance, and he confessed to the shooting. During sentencing, Cruz sat hunched and expressionless, often avoiding eye contact. As victims' families confronted him, he showed minimal reaction.
Our justice system should have been used to punish this shooter to the fullest extent of the law, not as an act of revenge, but to protect our nation's schools.
Cruz was sentenced to 34 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. He is incarcerated in the Florida prison system, serving his sentence of life without parole. He will die in prison. If you think that reaction is shocking, wait until you see this teenager who raised his middle finger to his victim's relatives.
911, where's your emergency?
We just had a shooting at our school. We need to get out of here. Oh my God.
Okay, ma'am, we got a school shooting. Ma'am, what school?
Chardon High School.
Chardon High School?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Can you go get the administration? Okay.
Everyone's running away, so...
Where's the student with the gun?
I don't know. He was in the cafeteria and everyone just started running.
Okay. Okay. Is anyone injured?
I don't know. I just got out of this.
Do you have any idea where the shooter is?
He started in the cafeteria.
He started in the cafeteria?
Yeah, and he ran out.
He ran out?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any idea where he went?
No, I have no idea. I got under a table.
Did you see the shooter? Are you a student?
Yes. Yes, I'm a student. I was right by the shooter when he pulled the gun.
Okay, and who was the shooter?
His name is Thomas Lane.
This is TJ Lane. On February 27, 2012, inside the cafeteria of Chardon High School in Ohio, 17-year-old Thomas TJ Lane carried out a deadly morning shooting. At around 7:30 a.m., students were gathering before the first bell. Lane, who attended a nearby alternative school but shared a bus route with several of the students, walked in wearing a white t-shirt. Without saying a word, he pulled out a Ruger MK 3.22 caliber semi-automatic handgun and began firing at a group of students seated together.
Sitting in that room in shock, as we all comforted one another, I heard a police officer outside of the window say that they suspected TJ Lane. When those words hit me, I shook and cried and denied that all this could be true.
Daniel Parmertor was shot first. Russell King Jr. and Demetrius Hewlin were hit next as chaos erupted around the room. Lane fired repeatedly, hitting 6 students in total. While his motive was never fully established, investigators pointed to personal tensions and possibly a fixation on violence. After the attack, he fled the building, still armed. However, police officers captured Lane within minutes, finding him near the school. He surrendered with the handgun still in his possession.
TJ Lane's grandparents gained custody of the boy. Neighbors say his grandparents did their best, but in the past 2 years, deputies were often called to the home to deal with problems caused by his older brother's drug use.
During sentencing, Lane smirked, laughed, and delivered taunting remarks to victims' families, displaying blatant contempt and zero remorse.
I hate you for the pain you've caused, Nick. You chased him down the hall and fired the last bullet that paralyzed him. Why? Why did you do it? Why?
Saying pull the trigger that killed your son, masturbates to memory of you.
Lane was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus 37 years. He is currently incarcerated in the Ohio State Penitentiary, a supermax prison known for being the state's most secure facility. This teenager cried during his sentencing.
You know, because 16 years he was in jail. He spent all this time in jail and he still came out and murdered that poor woman, allegedly. But how is this different? I'm jaded, and I think that it's a hard decision to make, but I would say deny parole.
This is Michael Carneal. On the morning of December 1st, 1997, 14-year-old Michael Carneal, then a freshman, walked into the lobby of Heath High School in West Paducah, Kentucky, carrying several guns he'd stolen from a neighbor's house. including a .22 caliber pistol he'd concealed in a blanket. Like most mornings before classes, a small student prayer group was gathered there. Carneal quietly approached the group, unwrapped the pistol, inserted earplugs, and then started shooting indiscriminately at the students. He fired a total of 11 rounds, striking 8 teenagers. When he was done, Carneal placed the gun on the floor and then told one student to kill him before surrendering to the school principal. 3 girls, Nicole Hadley, Jessica James, and Casey Steger, died in the attack. 5 others were seriously wounded, including 15-year-old Missy Jenkins, who survived but was left permanently paralyzed. Even after interrogating Carneal, investigators found no clear motive, with Carneal only saying that he had heard voices urging him to shoot. The attack is believed to have stemmed from a combination of parental issues, paranoia, bullying, and deteriorating mental health, rather than a specific grudge. In court, he appeared vacant and largely withdrawn, often avoiding eye contact.
I would like to say to you and to the victims and the victims' friends and families and the whole community that I'm sorry for what I did. I know it's not going to change anything. It's not going to make anything better, but I want them to know that I am sorry for what I did.
During his sentencing, he cried silently as the victims' families spoke, showing flashes of remorse. Carneal was given life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years. On completing 25 years in 2022, he was sought for parole but was denied. This teenager didn't cry, but instead appeared withdrawn. This is Charles Andrew Andy Williams. On March 5th, 2001, at Santana High School in Santee, California, Andy, then aged 15, carried out a school shooting that killed 2 students, Brian Zukor and Randy Gordon, and wounded 13 others. Andy had recently moved to the neighborhood in California and would later tell investigators that he'd been constantly bullied, which had left him feeling isolated, depressed, and suicidal. On that fateful morning, he walked into a boys' bathroom with a loaded .22 caliber revolver and fatally shot 1 student inside. He stepped back into the hallway and fired repeatedly at multiple students without warning. Andy continued shooting at the terrified students who scrambled for cover until his revolver was empty. Then, he placed the weapon down and waited. Police found him near the bathroom. He did not flee or resist, but instead, he calmly surrendered and identified himself as the gunman. During his trial, Williams appeared withdrawn and emotionless, often looking down. He was handed 50 years to life in prison and is currently serving his sentence in the California State Prison System, awaiting parole. This is Jalen Prince. On September 6, 2024, inside a bathroom at Joppatown High School in Maryland, 16-year-old Jalen Prince carried out a fatal shooting. Earlier that morning, tension between Prince and 15-year-old Warren Grant had been building, Grant going as far as warning Prince to stay away from his girlfriend. The warning embarrassed and angered Prince, and he followed Grant into the bathroom to continue the argument away from crowds. As the two exchanged words, Prince pulled a loaded handgun from his backpack. He chambered a round, lifted the weapon, and fired at Grant at close range. Grant was later pronounced dead at a hospital. After the shooting, Prince fled the school and tried to hide the handgun. However, police were able to trace and arrest him within hours. Prosecutors described the attack as a deliberate and targeted killing stemming from anger, jealousy, and impulsive reaction. Prince received 80 years in prison with the possibility of parole after serving 40 years. Enjoyed the video? Subscribe so that you don't miss the next one.
I sentence you, Mr. Lorenzo, to death. That is the punishment that you deserve for these horrific crimes.
We'll break up soon, and I will kill more.
From a war criminal who drank poison in court to a killer who attacked his own lawyer, here are 5 brutal reactions to death sentences. We start with a suspect who drank poison before the judge.
Stop, please. Please sit down.
Monsieur le Président, notre client dit qu'il a bu un poison ce matin.
This is Slobodan Praljak. Between 1992 and 1995, during the Bosnian War, Praljak, then in his late 40s, served as chief of the main staff of the Croatian Defense Council, operating primarily in Mostar and other areas of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Under his command, The HVO carried out a coordinated campaign of ethnic cleansing targeting Bosnian Muslims. The goal was to forcibly remove the Muslim population to create an ethnically Croatian-controlled territory within Bosnia. These actions included mass arrests, unlawful detention, forced expulsions, killings, and systematic abuse of civilians. Praljak voluntarily surrendered to the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia in 2004, traveling to The Hague after being formally indicted for war crimes and crimes against humanity. In November 2017, when judges upheld his 20-year sentence, he shouted and drank from a small brown bottle he had smuggled into the courtroom.
Stop, please. Please sit down.
Praljak died of cyanide poisoning later while at the hospital. If you thought Praljak was extreme, wait until you see this suspect who violently attacked his attorney. This is Joseph Zeeler. On May 10, 1990, in Cape Coral, Florida, 19-year-old Zeeler broke into the home of 11-year-old Robin Cornell while her mother was away. Inside, he suffocated and assaulted Robin and her 32-year-old babysitter, Lisa Story. With limited forensic technology available in 1990, no suspect was identified, and the case slowly went cold.
Let me tell you the difference. There was no victim DNA in the sample. Yes, it identified me as being in the apartment, but it wasn't mixed with Robin Cornell or Lisa Story.
He doesn't take responsibility for anything. I never heard him take responsibility for anything during this trial.
26 years later, Zeeler was arrested on an unrelated assault charge. DNA collected during that arrest matched evidence from the 1990 murders, conclusively tying him to the crime scene. During the penalty phase in 2018, Zeeler shocked the courtroom when he suddenly called his attorney over, then violently elbowed him in the face.
What's that?
Zeeler was convicted on 2 counts of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. He remains on Florida's death row awaiting execution.
Do you feel any remorse for the whole situation?
Absolutely not. I have nothing to feel remorseful for.
So are you nervous heading off to death row this week?
No, absolutely not. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting to the next step of this, and it's going to be overturned, and I'm going to walk out of death row a free man.
The next suspect did something the court never expected, smiling and laughing during sentencing.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're able to step out of the hallway.
This is Luis Bracamontes. On October 24, 2014, in Sacramento and Auburn, California, 34-year-old Bracamontes carried out a multi-county shooting spree that targeted law enforcement officers. The violence began during a routine welfare check in a motel parking lot, where Deputy Danny Oliver approached Bracamontes' vehicle. When Oliver reached the car, Bracamontes opened fire, killing him almost instantly. Bracamontes then carjacked vehicles to escape, shot a civilian who refused to hand over his keys, and continued evading police while heavily armed. The chase ended when Bracamontes ambushed the pursuing officers in Auburn. During that confrontation, Detective Michael Davis Jr. was fatally shot. Investigators later revealed that Bracamontes showed no remorse and even stated that he wanted to kill as many officers as possible.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're able to step out of the hallway.
Dead. I will break out soon, and I will kill more.
Bracamontes was captured later that day after a shootout with police. During the verdict reading, Bracamontes smiled, laughed, and silently clapped his hands in celebration.
Luis Enriquez Monroy Bracamontes for the murder of Sacramento County Sheriff's Deputy Daniel Oliver is dead.
Bracamontes was sentenced to death and currently remains on California's death row. The next suspect had a completely different reaction, choosing to be remorseless.
This panel finds that the death penalty is appropriate, should be, and is hereby given for each of the 4 murders by the defendant.
This is Nico Jenkins. On August 11th, 2013, approximately 2 weeks after completing a 10-year prison sentence, 26-year-old Jenkins went on a killing spree in Omaha, Nebraska. Over the course of 10 days, Jenkins carried out 3 separate attacks, claiming 4 lives: Juan Uribe Pena, Jorge Cajiga Ruiz, Curtis Bradford, and Andrea Kruger. One of the most shocking killings was that of Andrea Kruger, a mother of 3, whom Jenkins pulled from her car and executed in the street. The randomness of the murders terrified the city and triggered a manhunt. Jenkins was arrested on August 30th, 2013, after surveillance footage and witness accounts linked him to the attacks. Jenkins later claimed that he committed the murders at the command of the ancient Egyptian serpent god Apophis. Even more shocking, several family members, including his sister Erica Jenkins, assisted him during and after the killing spree and were also convicted.
Jenkins' testimony lasted less than an hour, at times trying to taunt Douglas County Attorney Don Klein. The judge asked Klein if he had any questions for Jenkins. Klein, no thanks. An incredulous Jenkins replies, "Are you serious? Oh my God, that's amazing. What's the matter with this guy?"
Jenkins's trial was delayed over questions about his competency as he exhibited erratic behavior throughout court proceedings in 2017.
Therefore, this panel finds that the death penalty is appropriate, should be, and is hereby given for each of the 4 murders by the defendant. It is therefore the sentence of this court as follows. At case CR 13-2768, count 1, murder in the first degree, a class 1 felony, death.
During his sentencing, Jenkins showed no remorse as he fidgeted in his chair and glanced around the courtroom. Jenkins was handed 4 consecutive death sentences plus an additional 450 years. But nothing beats this killer who thanked the judge for the death penalty.
I'm seeking the death penalty. It's in my best interest, basically because it's a comfort. I'll be living a lot more comfortable than I would in the federal system.
This is Stephen Lorenzo. In December 2003, 47-year-old Lorenzo, together with his accomplice, Scott Schweikert, went on a calculated spree of predatory attacks targeting gay men in the Tampa nightlife scene. The victims, Jason Galehouse and Michael Wachholtz, were both lured from a nightclub to Lorenzo's house under the promise of a casual social encounter.
I want that man to get the death penalty and nothing less. Period.
Prosecutors later established that Lorenzo deliberately sought victims he could drug, control, and abuse for his own gratification. After bringing the men to his house, Lorenzo and Schweikert administered GHB, rendering the victims helpless. What followed were hours of confinement, abuse, and escalating violence. Lorenzo even maintained detailed records of his fantasies and actions, which were presented as evidence during his trial. After the killings, Lorenzo dismembered the body and disposed of the remains in multiple dumpsters across the city. Lorenzo was arrested in 2003 after witness statements, physical evidence, and items recovered from his home connected him to the crimes. During sentencing in 2006, Lorenzo remained calm and polite, but lacked visible remorse, saying that he preferred the death penalty.
I'm seeking the death penalty. It's in my best interest, basically because it's a comfort. I'll be living a lot more comfortable than I would in the federal system, living on death row, believe it or not. And of course that may sound selfish, but I've lived in a private cell for the last 5 years, and I'm going to have a private cell on death row. At my age, I want to be comfortable. I want my privacy. That's what I want. So that's what I'm doing. It may sound selfish, but that's the way it is. You live for today. You don't live for the past. You live for today.
I sentence you, Mr. Lorenzo, to death. That is the punishment that you deserve for these horrific crimes.
Stephen Lorenzo was sentenced to death and remains on death row in Florida. Enjoyed watching? Check out this next video and subscribe for more.
I would ask you to, as part of this sentencing, to grant me 5 minutes in a locked room with this demon.
Your life is not on the line. Mine is. And you think that I think this is funny?
Well, I'm going to have to get someone.
Tell me exactly what happened.
She hung herself in the garage. No.
Stay on the line.
A suspect blew up in this courtroom, verbally attacking the judge. In a different courtroom, a father lunged at the accused, wanting to hurt him. But these aren't the only crazy courtroom moments captured on camera. Let's start with this moment when a suspect verbally attacked the judge.
Your life is not on the line. Mine is. And you think that I think this is funny?
I don't think it's funny whatsoever.
This is Darrell Edward Brooks Jr. During his 2022 trial, Brooks represented himself and repeatedly disrupted proceedings.
Your Honor, with all due respect, did the state have to put their witnesses in order and tell me?
It's irrelevant what the state did.
Did they have to do that?
They didn't need your assistance to do that.
Did they have to do it?
No, they did not.
I don't have to be provided with, we're going to call this witness at this time,
But they're
and this
able
witness at this
to
time.
contact
They
their
didn't have to do that, so why should I have to
and
do that?
accommodate their schedules. This is not about you. It's not about the state. It's about the witnesses'
It's about what's fair.
availability.
It's about what's fair.
No, frankly, sir, it's about you trying to control what's happening in this court.
How am I controlling what's happening? I'm the one shackled to the table with
Here's the
with a shock
situation.
device
It is
on my ankles.
9:52.
So how's I'm trying to control anything?
He invoked sovereign citizen arguments.
Is it your desire to represent yourself in this case?
It is. I would like to proceed in this matter prior persona, not pro se.
Say that last part again.
I would like to proceed in this matter in pro per, not pro se.
So you're going to have to tell me what you think that means.
It is me exercising my right to defend myself, to represent myself as a sovereign citizen.
Insisting he was a living soul beyond the court's authority, he frequently argued with the judge, interrupted witnesses, and accused the court of bias. At one point, Brooks even built a wall of banker boxes around himself to block the judge and jury from view. On November 21, 2021, in Waukesha, Wisconsin, 39-year-old Brooks drove a red 2010 Ford Escape into a Christmas parade route, killing 6 people and injuring 62 others. Elderly parade attendees and an 8-year-old child, Jackson Sparks, were among the victims. Shortly before the attack, Brooks had been involved in a domestic dispute with his ex-girlfriend.
My position, Your Honor, is that these pictures, first of all, should not be admissible. 1, because of a discovery violation. We've never seen them before. 2, because we have reason to believe that he did not get them from Erica Patterson. He is on a jail phone call talking to his mother, Dawn Woods, about Dawn Woods sending these photographs to him. Now,
that's a lie. I object to that.
Let the state make their argument without interruption, sir.
That's a lie, though.
3, I believe that these photographs are designed to make a suggestion to the jury that Erica Patterson is a bad mom. I think that is what the defendant is trying to do. And if we're going to go down that road, then we would be forced to counter that claim. First of all, it doesn't make her an incredible witness, if it's even true. And second of all, if we go down that road, we would be forced to counter that claim by pointing out that not only does the defendant not live with the child in question, he doesn't live with any of the other children that he has. He impregnated Erica Patterson when she was a minor in Nevada, and for doing so, he was convicted of statutory sexual seduction, pled guilty in March of 2007 to that felony offense, and is a sex offender on the registry as a result. So if there's any causation that would lead to Erica Patterson being a bad mom, Mr. Brooks has a direct role in that causation.
And that's
furthermore,
I object to that.
I'm not
because
done.
that's a lie.
Let him
Because at the
finish.
end of the day,
Let him
if
finish,
we gonna open the door
Mr.
on that, no,
Brooks.
since he want to make a record and not be accurate, so let's be accurate all on the record. Since you think you know so much,
Once
so
again,
we can
Mr.
open the
Brooks
door
is
on.
being
We can
loud,
open the door on how old she told me she was when we met.
interrupting.
We can ask that question
He is
too. Then
over the
Did you
top,
ask that?
animated
Do you
right
know
now.
that?
Brooks was arrested shortly after the attack following a multi-agency manhunt, identified through vehicle evidence, eyewitness accounts, and prior police contact connected to the earlier domestic incident. Evidence presented at trial showed that Brooks bypassed police barricades and accelerated into the crowd at roughly 40 miles per hour, striking dozens of people over several blocks. Brooks was sentenced to 6 consecutive life terms without parole plus 762.5 years. As of 2026, he remains incarcerated, serving multiple life sentences. The next case was even more bizarre, thanks to the shocking actions of a devastated father.
Well, I'm going to have to get someone.
This is Larry Nassar. On February 2nd, 2018, inside the Eaton County Circuit Court in Charlotte, Michigan, the 54-year-old former USA Gymnastics and Michigan State University doctor stood before the court during sentencing.
I, too, was sexually assaulted by Larry Nassar multiple times at multiple appointments. My last treatment was in August 2016. I'm possibly the last child he will ever assault.
Over more than 2 decades, Nassar abused his position of trust, using supposed medical treatments to sexually assault more than 265 young women and girls.
He hijacked a rare pelvic therapy that involves vaginal penetration and used it to treat all sorts of ailments. He ignored protocols such as using a glove, asking consent, or having a medical chaperone present.
During the sentencing hearing, the court heard victim impact statements from the daughters of Randall Margraves, who described the lasting emotional and physical harm caused by Nassar's actions.
The word Nassar will permanently be associated with child sexual abuse. Kind of like Jack the Ripper, Son of Sam, or Lee Harvey Oswald. You get the picture.
She even taunted Nassar, who never made eye contact.
Don't get too excited, Larry. You will probably never talk to a woman again. Except for one holding a gun, a taser, and a billy club.
For Margraves, listening to his daughters publicly recount their trauma while watching the man responsible appear unremorseful became overwhelming.
I would ask you to, as part of this sentencing, to grant me 5 minutes in a locked room with this demon. Would you do that?
In a moment that stunned the courtroom, he made a request to confront Nassar directly.
Yes or no?
No, sir.
Would you give me 1 minute?
After the request was denied, Margraves suddenly rushed forward from the podium.
You know that I can't do that. That's not how it is.
Well, I'm going to have to get something
Stay down. Stay down. I understand.
Let me have that, son of a bitch.
I understand, but stay down.
I want that.
Court officers restrained him, stopping him just short of the defense table as security removed Nassar from the room. He received consecutive sentences totaling life in prison, including 60 years federally and decades more at the state level. As of 2026, Nassar remains incarcerated under high security custody. Watch this controversial acquittal that shocked America.
Days after the murder, Simpson, driven by friend Al Cowlings, led police on the slow-speed chase broadcast around the world.
This is AC. I have OJ in the car.
This is Orenthal James O.J. Simpson. On June 12, 1994, in Los Angeles, California, the former NFL star and actor was accused of murdering his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend Ronald Goldman outside Nicole's Brentwood condominium. Both victims were found with multiple stab wounds. When the trial began in January 1995, it unfolded live on television, gripping the nation. Prosecutors argued the killings followed a long history of domestic violence and stemmed from Simpson's inability to accept Nicole's independence after their divorce. Simpson was arrested on June 17, 1994, after a nationally televised low-speed police chase through Los Angeles, following days of questioning and mounting evidence tied to the double homicide. This is Maya Kowalski, and what you are hearing is her brother's chilling 911 call.
Tell me exactly what happened.
She hung herself in the garage. No.
Stay on the line.
At just 9 years old, Maya was diagnosed with complex regional pain syndrome, a rare and extremely painful condition. In October 2016, Maya's mother, Beata Kowalski, brought her to Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital in Florida after a severe flare-up. Beata insisted Maya receive high-dose ketamine treatments, which she said her daughter had previously received for pain management. Hospital staff disagreed, and her persistence raised concerns. Doctors reported the situation to the Child Abuse Hotline, suspecting Munchausen syndrome by proxy. What followed was a court-ordered separation of mother and daughter. After 87 days without seeing her child, Beata Kowalski died by suicide at age 42.
Tell me exactly what happened.
She hung herself in the garage. No.
Stay on the line. Are you with her now?
Well, I'm in the garage.
How old is she?
42.
Is she awake? I just have to verify.
She's stiff. She's stiff. She's stiff. Oh my God. No, Kyle, you can't go in there.
Okay, tell me why she looks like she's dead.
No, I'm a retired deputy fire chief. I know she is.
Do you think she's beyond any help?
Beyond, yes, rigor. I'm sure she's really
okay.
stiff.
I'm sending the
I'm sending I'm sending someone to assist you. Please leave everything as you found it. Is there anything we can do for you?
Okay, just please get somebody here.
They're on their way.
I'm gonna bring my son to my neighbors or call my neighbor.
The family later filed a civil lawsuit against the hospital, alleging wrongful death, medical negligence, false imprisonment, and emotional harm. During the 2023 civil trial, the courtroom fell into complete silence as a 911 call made by Maya's younger brother Kyle, reporting the discovery of his mother's death, was played. The family was initially awarded over $200 million in damages. However, the ruling was later overturned by an appeals court, which found the hospital acted in good faith. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe and click on the next one to keep watching.
On count 1, the murder of Dominic Russo, 15 years to life, to be served concurrent to each other, with credit for time served.
Brian Jr. told investigators he chose a homeless victim he assumed no one would miss.
School shooter Ethan Crumbley at a shooting range practicing with the gun he used in the massacre just days later.
From this teenage girl who shook and sobbed to this boy who cried hysterically, here are 5 teenagers reacting to their life sentences. We start with this teenage killer who shook and sobbed.
Could you please be careful taking this one off so it doesn't break the bracelet?
You got it. You got it.
This is Mackenzie Sharilla. On July 31st, 2022, in Strongsville, Ohio, 17-year-old Sharilla intentionally drove her car into a brick commercial building, killing her boyfriend, 20-year-old Dominic Russo, and his friend, 19-year-old Davian Flanagan. She drove her Toyota Camry down a dead-end street in an industrial park, accelerating to 100 miles per hour before steering directly into the wall without braking. The scene was catastrophic, with the building sustaining major structural damage and both victims killed instantly. Sharilla reportedly wanted to end her relationship by killing both herself and Russo, while Flanagan was an unintended victim.
That's great. And that's kind of when like all of us stopped being friends with just her. We were all cool with her still. Just because she's so like crazy, she'll blow everyone's phone up.
Investigators recovered evidence of Sharilla's phone messages and texts hinting at suicidal thoughts and obsessive control over Russo, which prosecutors used to support the intentional nature of the crash. Sharilla was arrested shortly after the crash, taken into custody at the scene, and charged with 2 counts of murder.
Hi, Mackenzie. Step out for me. You're under arrest for aggravated murder ×2, okay? Nobody's gonna ask you any questions. Nobody's gonna bother you.
Could you please be careful taking this one off so it doesn't break the bracelet, please?
You got it. You got it.
During her sentencing in 2023, Sharilla appeared visibly distraught, sobbing and shaking while the judge read her sentence.
I understand that the pain in this room wants me to impose the harshest sentence, but I don't believe that would be the appropriate sentence, because I do believe that Mackenzie will not be out in 15 years. So she's sentenced on count 2, the murder of Davian Flanagan, 15 years to life. She's sentenced on count 1, the murder of Dominic Russo, 15 years to life, to be served concurrent to each other, with credit for time served.
As of late 2025, she is incarcerated at the Ohio Reformatory for Women, with parole eligibility in 2038. The next killer cried hysterically during his first sentencing and stayed emotionless on the second.
I just didn't know what to do. It's not something, hey, like in life, you try to mentally prep for a lot of situations.
This is Jalen Brazier. In January 2022, in Detroit, Michigan, 22-year-old Brazier was the last known person to see his 17-year-old cousin, Zion Foster, alive. Zion disappeared after going to smoke marijuana with Brazier, a meeting she never returned from. For months, Brazier insisted she had simply vanished.
Just basically showing this girl was never in my house. So, and she's known to be a runaway.
I did turn myself in. Yes, I lied, but I was not in the right state of mind. There was no way for me to prepare for a situation like that.
You had contact with the individual. The police questioned you regarding that contact. You didn't tell them the truth associated with the contact.
Well, when she died,
It was just random. Like from my end of it.
What do you mean?
I was terrified. Literally from that point on, I didn't know what to do. I wasn't in the right state of mind for anything. And I turned myself and they didn't present me with anything. After getting my thoughts together.
So did you explain how she passed?
I don't know exactly how she passed, what caused her to pass.
Later, though, he admitted that Zion died while they were together, claiming it was an accident and that he panicked.
She was cool. She was fine. She laid back for a minute. Next thing I know, she was dead. I don't know what caused it. I did not cause it or anything like that. I reacted stupidly off of fear and panic like I've never felt before in my life. Literally.
Brazier confessed that after her death, he placed her body in a dumpster, which was later emptied into a landfill, making recovery impossible.
You're stoned, she's stoned, you think she dies, and then you dispose of the body? Just like that? That was your choice?
I sat for a minute and I didn't know what to do. I was like, I just did not know what to do. It's like...
I mean, the first thing that came to your mind, I'm trying to understand with the limited information I have, that this person passed away in your presence, and your first thought is, well, I gotta get rid of the body.
My first thought was how bad it looked to start with. It's like, how do I explain like what happened? I don't know why she died or what it caused her to die. And just a lot of possibility just popped in my head, and I was just reacting off of just innate fear. I don't know.
Zion's remains have never been found, leaving her family without answers or closure. The lack of a body became central to the case, as prosecutors focused on Brazier's shifting stories, digital evidence, and his own admissions to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Brazier was arrested in 2022 after inconsistencies in his statements, and mounting evidence led police to charge him initially for lying to investigators, before escalating to murder charges. During a 2022 court hearing, Brazier appeared tearful and emotional, pleading with the court as he addressed Zion's disappearance and his role in misleading police. However, during his 2024 murder sentencing, his demeanor shifted completely. Brazier sat cold and silent, staring ahead without visible emotion as the judge delivered his punishment.
The defendant is sentenced to 38 to 90 years with a consecutive sentence of 5 to 10 years on count 2 with credit for 356 days served.
Brazier is currently serving his sentence in a Michigan state prison. Next, we have a killer who was eerily detached, given the nature of his crime.
Seriously. It's very serious. This isn't no joke. This is your whole life. Your whole life. And hers. And ours. And your brothers and sisters.
This is Aiden Fucci. On May 9th, 2021, in St. Johns County, Florida, 14-year-old Fucci murdered his 13-year-old classmate, Tristan Bailey, in what prosecutors described as a premeditated stabbing. In the weeks leading up to the killing, Fucci had told multiple friends he wanted to kill someone in the woods, saying he wanted to know what it felt like. On the day of the crime, he lured Tristan into a wooded area where he attacked her with a knife, stabbing her 114 times. Medical examiners confirmed many of the wounds were defensive, indicating Tristan fought desperately for her life.
You know they found this girl, right?
Where?
In our neighborhood. Down our main street.
Is she good?
No, she's not. She's dead. This is very important. It's all on you right now.
That ain't my problem.
You were
He
the
was
last
the
one
last
with
one
her.
seen with her. So right now, it's facing you right now, son. So however you talk, you breathe, you think, then you respond.
This is very serious, Aiden. You can't act like I don't know.
Did you kiss or do anything with this girl?
Be honest as you can.
Yeah, I kissed her.
Anything further?
Mm-mm.
So your DNA is going to be on her. So you pushed her down and then you walked away. We shouldn't be talking. You walked away. You came straight home. You didn't turn back around and see where she went?
Did they ever say why it took you so long to get home?
Mm-hmm. So I walked around.
By yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Did you just walk really slow home?
Yeah.
Do you know if this girl got picked up?
I told him about her dealer.
You think she got picked up by him?
Probably. She said she wouldn't come home.
She said she's gonna find somebody.
Fucci was arrested the same day after surveillance footage and witness accounts placed him with Tristan shortly before her death, leading to swift charges of first-degree murder. Fucci's behavior drew national outrage when a selfie surfaced of him smiling in the back of a police car, captioned, "Hey guys, has anybody seen Tristan lately?"
We're having fun in a cop car.
Yep. Tristan.
What's up, guys?
Yep.
Tristan, if you walk out the damn...
When you see this in a month.
During his sentencing hearing in 2023, Fucci appeared largely stoic and eerily detached, showing little visible emotion. Fucci was sentenced to life in prison, with eligibility for sentence review after 25 years due to his age, and is currently incarcerated at Cross City Correctional Institution. The next killer appeared somber and defeated. This is Ethan Crumbley. On November 30th, 2021, in Oxford, Michigan, 15-year-old Crumbley carried out a mass shooting at Oxford High School, killing 4 students: Madison Baldwin, Hannah Street Juliana, Justin Schilling, and Tate Meyer. That morning, Crumbley walked into the school with a 9mm Sig Sauer handgun he had received as an early Christmas gift from his parents. He then opened fire in the packed hallways, killing the 4 students and injuring several others before finally surrendering to the police. Crumbley was arrested at the scene without resistance and charged with murder and terrorism.
School shooter Ethan Crumbley at a shooting range practicing with the gun he used in the massacre just days later. His mother was there too, and the target practice video was just played at her trial as prosecutors try to prove she is partially responsible for the shooting.
Investigations later revealed that Crumbley had been struggling with severe mental health issues stemming from neglect. The teen documented his disturbing thoughts in a personal journal, where he even described carrying out a school shooting as a way to be remembered. During his sentencing in 2023, Crumbley appeared sad and remorseful, sitting with his head down for hours as victim impact statements were read aloud. Crumbley was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. His parents were convicted of involuntary manslaughter in 2024, a legal first in U.S. history. The next killer appeared unbothered.
Okay. You said you murdered someone.
I did.
Did you know the person?
No.
No?
No. I was driving one night. I was in a, shall we say, bad state of mind.
Okay.
I saw a strange shape by the railway tracks, so I investigated and it revealed me a homeless person sleeping. Well, I presumed homeless because he was there.
Okay.
So I stabbed him to death.
This is Brian Coey. On February 27th, 2021, in Grand Junction, Colorado, 19-year-old Coey brutally murdered 69-year-old Warren Barnes, a well-known member of the homeless community, while he was sleeping under a bridge. After stabbing Barnes to death, Coey relocated the body, dismembered it, and attempted to dispose of some parts in the Colorado River. Even more disturbing, he kept the head and hands in a plastic storage bin inside his bedroom closet.
Hi, there is an emergency. I found something in my son's closet wrapped in a plastic bag.
Okay, what was it?
I think it's a human head.
It's a what?
I think it's a human head.
Why do you think it's that?
Because it looks like it's all an ear.
Is it bloody or does it like anything like that?
I just told you to come. That's why I had to take a picture and send it to you.
Coey was finally arrested after his mother, Terry Coey, discovered a rotting human head in a plastic bag in his closet. Investigators later said that Coey had developed a morbid obsession with death and violence, and had even openly admitted to wanting to know what it felt like to kill someone.
This is not to be taken offense, but police, they don't seem to care as much about high-risk individuals, homeless people, prostitutes, etc. So I was deliberately looking for someone who lived that type of life. Okay. And I found a homeless person, and the original goal was just leave him there.
During his sentencing in 2022, Coey showed no visible remorse and could even be seen smiling as he made conversation with his lawyers. Coey was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole and is serving his sentence in a Colorado state prison. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and watch this one.
This is the result. This is where you will end up. With your family and friends crying as you're let out of the courtroom to serve the rest of your life in prison.
In South Carolina, the way they kill people up here, death penalty there. They don't punish them enough here.
This is the result. This is where you will end up. With your family and friends crying as you're let out of the courtroom to serve the rest of your life in prison.
This is Abel Candy Gallegos. On November 5th, 2018, 36-year-old Gallegos of Lakewood lured 28-year-old Simone Duran through social media to a house in Denver. There, she met Rene Francisco Rosales, 36, also from Lakewood, and other people. After a while, Duran, Gallegos, and Rosales left the house together, with Rosales going home. Gallegos, the mastermind of the gang's evil plan, took Duran to a parking lot where 28-year-old Quintana Alonso, the third accomplice, was waiting. Gallegos and Quintana proceeded to assault Duran, bundle her in the back of their car, and then drove her to a dark, secluded spot. The two gang members, led by Gallegos, forced Duran out of the car and shot her 10 times before leaving her to bleed out. Later that night, Gallegos and Rosales came back to the crime scene and poured gasoline on Duran's body before setting it on fire. Firefighters found Duran's body around 1:30 a.m., and the three were arrested individually a few days later. Gallegos was sentenced to the maximum life in prison plus 163 years. Quintana was also given life without the possibility of parole, and Rosales was given 150 years. During sentencing, Gallegos looked defiant and remorseless at the judge, even as the victim's family members broke down.
This was a horrific crime. I am struck by the casualness in which it was committed, the absolute disregard for human life. This is the result. This is where you will end up. With your family and friends crying as you're let out of the courtroom to serve the rest of your life in prison.
This gang leader took things even further by displaying defiance and remorsefulness.
He said, "I'm going to count to 3. He counted to 3. He shot him anyway.
This is Julius Webster. In September 2013 in Cleveland, Ohio, the 29-year-old leader of the Heartless Felons carried out the aggravated murder of Curtis Marks outside Club Fly High on Superior Avenue.
This one, Fly High nightclub near 70th and Superior, is where prosecutors say Webster robbed and killed Marks.
He targeted Marks after robbing him, shooting him at point-blank range as an enforcement act meant to strengthen the gang's control on Cleveland streets.
He said, "I'm going to count to 3. He counted to 3. He shot him anyway."
This slaying was later tied to a violent stretch of gang-driven crimes committed between June 17th and December 6th, 2013. These included a robbery in Canton, an aggravated robbery at a Sunoco station where a man's SUV was stolen. Webster was arrested in Ohio after investigators connected him to the violent crimes through forensic evidence and witness statements. It followed months of surveillance, witness intimidation concerns, and mounting proof linking him to the Heartless Felons' coordinated attacks across Cleveland and Canton. During his 2015 sentencing, Webster sat largely expressionless, showing little visible reaction as the judge delivered his sentence.
And appears to be of the position that he, along with other members of the Heartless Felons, are above the law, or that the law for some reason does not apply to him or to them.
When asked whether he wanted to talk, Webster simply said, "I'm fine." He received 99 years to life in March 2015. Webster remains incarcerated in Ohio, serving a life-length sentence with no realistic possibility of parole. If you thought that was strange, wait until you see this gang leader who smiled during sentencing. This is George Gueld Thomas. On May 14, 2015, in Cape Town, South Africa, Thomas, whose nickname Goveld means violence in Afrikaans, a longtime 28-year prison gang general, was found responsible for a sprawling campaign of violence across the Cape Flats and inside South Africa's correctional system. Thomas acted with 18 co-accused who carried out many of his orders, including targeted killings of rivals and witnesses. He issued instructions that resulted in 7 murders, multiple attempted murders, and a long list of firearm and racketeering offenses. His leadership allowed the 28s to function as a tightly controlled criminal enterprise, with members enforcing his commands through intimidation, extortion, and deadly retaliation. He managed the gang's hierarchy, sanctioned hits, and used violence as a primary tool to protect and expand the organization's influence.
It went further that while you were in custody, through your actions on those who testified against you, you sent a strong message that you won't be stopped through the law of the land. The message was also on members of the police that your power was stronger than previously thought.
Thomas was already incarcerated when much of the case unfolded, but investigators formally linked him to the murders and enterprise activities after years of surveillance, intercepted communications, and testimony from protected witnesses who survived widespread intimidation. During the lengthy 2015 proceedings, Thomas's reaction irked many victims and their families. Besides showing minimal emotion, sometimes, he even smiled inside the court. Thomas received 7 life sentences plus 175 years. He remains imprisoned in South Africa under strict security conditions, serving life with no realistic chance of release. The next gang leader proves that sometimes even tough criminals simply shut up and take it in.
In South Carolina, the way they kill people up here, death penalty there. They don't punish them enough here.
This is Al Sharif Metz. On July 11th, 2011, in Newark, New Jersey, Metz, then the leader of the Brick City Brims, a Blood Street gang set, rode through Spruce Street as a passenger during a nighttime drive. Armed with an assault-type weapon, he opened fire into a crowd of people gathered outside, one of his bullets striking 28-year-old Kenyon Simon in the head. Simon survived the initial attack, but died weeks later, on August 4th, 2011, from his injuries. Metz already had a violent reputation in Newark, linked to what prosecutors called a reign of terror, including another fatal shooting just weeks after Simon's. When confronted in court in 2016, Metz openly acknowledged firing the shot that killed Simon, explaining the event with quiet, direct responses as he entered a plea.
That Monday, I went to custody to put him there to protect him because they want to move him out the hospital. I went that Thursday, they called me. When I went up there, he's breathing so hard. I told him if you don't do something, he's going to cardiac arrest. Went back there. They asked me that I want to put him on life support. No, I didn't want my child living on life support. I didn't want them to perform no more CPR. If it was time for God to take him on. Don't put him on anything. And I thank God for taking him to a better life than the life that they live here in New Jersey. In South Carolina, the way they kill people up here, death penalty there. They don't punish them enough here. They do crimes here, they pat them on the hand, they back on the street doing the same thing over. There's no system here for what they do. It's ridiculous the way they're killing people up here.
During the hearing, Metz stayed expressionless as Kenyon Simon's mother, Marjorie Dingle, spoke about losing her son. He kept his eyes lowered, showing no visible reaction while she described the pain the shooting caused. Metz received a 15-year sentence for aggravated manslaughter, running concurrently with his existing 65-year term. He won't be eligible for parole until November 2066, when he is 81 years old. The next gang leader couldn't hide his disappointment on hearing his sentence. This is Rayshawn R.T. Wilson. In April 2012, Wilson, the leader of the infamous Get It Quick gang division of the Blood Street Gang, moved from Cincinnati to Piccadilly Apartments in Union Township, Claremont County, Ohio, to establish a territory for selling cocaine, heroin, and marijuana. Here, Wilson and his gang believed that no one would care, let alone bother them, if they set up shop. And so, they began a reign of terror, moving illegal substances using intimidation, threats, and violence.
And until these drug dealers are punished for facilitating this plague they have brought upon our very county, we will continue to see violent crimes committed, homes being broken into, and overdoses resulting in deaths.
It is at Piccadilly Apartments, where the gang's operations mostly revolved around, that Wilson and a few members of his gang viciously robbed and beat up one of their own, Justin Reynolds, at gunpoint for allegedly stealing Wilson's stash. Reynolds escaped by jumping out of a second-story window. Shortly after, police quickly moved in and arrested Wilson and other gang members. After the arrest, police were able to recover massive evidence, including drugs, money, and guns. In November 2013, Wilson pleaded guilty to all 34 gang-related charges against him, something that Wilson's attorney tried to use to get Wilson less time. But this did not get him sympathy from the judge who handed Wilson 20 years in prison. During sentencing, Wilson appeared calm and emotionless, his expression changing to disappointment for a moment when the judge read out his sentence. Want to continue watching? Check out this next video and subscribe for more.
So what happened?
He was born in the bathtub, so he had some breathing issues at first, but they've gotten a little bit.
What looks like blood in there?
It's not blood, it's deer meat. I had a big bag of, there's a farm around here that does deer meat and hamburgers. So.
Shotgun shells all over this. Yeah.
From this mother who cussed at the court to this one who stayed emotionless, here are 5 baby killers reacting to their life sentences. We start with this mother who cussed at the judge in the court.
I'm innocent. You all, you're garbage.
This is Julissa Thaler. On May 20th, 2022, in Mound, Minnesota, 28-year-old Thaler shot her 6-year-old son, Eli Hart, 9 times with a shotgun. The murder happened that morning as Eli sat in his booster seat inside her car. After killing him, she left his body in the trunk for hours and continued driving, stopping at stores and moving around the area as if nothing had happened. Surprisingly, the killing happened just 10 days after Thaler regained full custody of Eli following a prolonged and hostile custody battle with the boy's father. Family members had repeatedly raised alarms about Thaler's mental state and warned authorities that Eli could be in danger. Despite those concerns, custody was returned. Prosecutors argued the murder was deliberate and fueled by rage and control, carried out to punish Eli's father by taking away what mattered most to him. Later that day, police stopped Thaler after noticing blood dripping from the trunk of her car.
There is no tire there.
Violation, I have a broken windshield and I'm missing a tire because some kids were shooting at my car. I had some...
What looks like blood in there?
It's not blood, it's deer meat. I had a big bag of, there's a farm around here that does deer meat and hamburgers. So.
Shotgun shells all over this. Yeah.
Inside, they discovered Eli's body and immediately took Thaler into custody. She was charged with first-degree murder. During her trial in 2023, Thaler displayed a defiant and remorseless demeanor. She shouted profanities at the judge, lashed out verbally in court, and insisted she was innocent despite overwhelming evidence.
If you'd like to choose to speak, now is the time to do it.
Yes, I would like to say something.
Go ahead.
I'm innocent. You all, you're garbage. That's all, Your Honor.
Ms. Thaler,
Thaler was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
I do relieve any of the pain that you caused by doing that, but what is, according to law, the just and fair sentence for what you did is what Mr. Allard said, and that is life in prison without the possibility of parole. So I will judge you guilty of first-degree murder and issue that sentence.
She is currently serving her sentence at the Minnesota Correctional Facility, Shakopee. Unlike Thaler, the next killer was completely emotionless.
By not imposing a maximum sentence, I'm combining punishment with something that you really did not exhibit towards your son, namely mercy.
This is Lacey Spears. In January 2014, in Valhalla, New York, 26-year-old Spears murdered her 5-year-old son, Garnett Spears, in a hospital. Garnett had spent most of his short life in and out of hospitals, presented by his mother as chronically and mysteriously ill. While he was hospitalized, Spears injected lethal amounts of salt directly into his feeding tube, slowly raising his sodium levels to fatal levels. Doctors initially struggled to understand why Garnett's condition continued to worsen despite treatment. Behind the scenes, Spears was carefully crafting a public narrative online. Through her blog, Garnett's Journey, she documented his suffering in detail, posting updates that drew sympathy, concern, and emotional support from thousands of followers.
He had a right to grow up and a right to grow old, and she stole that from him. Her actions were beyond depraved, despicable, and evil.
Spears suffered from Munchausen syndrome by proxy, a condition in which a caregiver fabricates or causes illness in someone under their care to gain attention and validation.
I lost my 5-year-old son, and I'm very saddened that I'll never get to watch him grow up.
How did your son die?
His death certificate says homicide. He was in and out of the hospital for the first 9 weeks of his life. And the biggest problem we had was we couldn't get him to eat. So he was losing weight. They were hopeful that within time he wouldn't have so much problems eating. I didn't kill my son. I never poisoned him with salt.
Then why is his sodium level so high?
You would have to ask the hospital that.
After Garnett died, medical staff noticed dangerously high sodium levels inconsistent with any natural condition. A hospital investigation led to law enforcement involvement, and Spears was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. During her trial in 2015, Spears remained largely stoic during sentencing, showing little visible emotion as the judge condemned her actions as unfathomable in its cruelty.
By not imposing the maximum sentence, I'm combining punishment with something that you really did not exhibit towards your son, namely mercy. By not imposing the maximum sentence, I in no way mean to diminish the life of Garnett, which is precious and beyond value.
Lacey Spears was sentenced to 20 years to life in prison. She is currently incarcerated at Bedford Hills Correctional Facility in New York. If you thought that was a rare reaction, this next expressionless mother will also shock you.
For 3 years, I have tried to forgive you, but I can't. I want to. But no parent should have to bury their child. No parent should have to see or hear the horrific things you have done.
This is Letitia Stauch. On January 27th, 2020, in Colorado Springs, Colorado, 36-year-old Stauch stabbed her 11-year-old stepson, Gannon Stauch, 18 times, struck him in the head with a blunt force, and ultimately shot him. The killing happened inside the family home, in Gannon's bedroom. Stauch attacked Gannon during a violent outburst, and after killing him, she attempted to cover up the crime through an elaborate series of lies, false reports, and shifting stories to the police.
Take me through Sunday into Monday, and be as detailed as possible.
Sunday, Gannon had started a candle. The fire thing went off. It started saying fire, 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 fire. So then I see smoke coming up from the downstairs. So then I ran back downstairs to get Gannon. The fire was on the floor over here, then on the sofa. There was covers everywhere. I take a whole bunch of them and I go and like basically smash down on the sofa and the fire to put it out. And I know there's two things I gotta fix. Number one, I need to fix the carpet, and number two, I need to figure out, does Gannon need to go get like some burn cream or whatever. Lorsa Ranch is a bunch of new builds, like construction. So I pulled up and I was like, hey, do you know where you can get the carpet that is in the Lorsa Ranch model homes? So we got the carpet from the guy in the construction area. Well, I didn't get it then. He said he was gonna bring it to me. So I gave him the address, and this is where I messed up. I gave him our code to get in, because he was gonna go fix it. And me and Gannon left. We went some places around town. We started to head home. As we got inside, I heard something. And I just started walking downstairs, opened the storage closet, and he was standing in there, and he had on gloves. He had one of the guns. And I was terrified. So terrified. And then he just knocked me down, and he was hitting on me. And he was trying to, like, rape me. It's all my fault, because I gave him our code to fix the carpet. Okay. And I shouldn't have. I swear to God, I don't know what happened from there. I really don't know. I kind of like blacked out just a little bit.
We had talked earlier about whether or not it would be able to take action at this point as far as like gathering evidence, whether it had been too long, and I told you that it wasn't. Right. Is that something that you're willing to do?
Yes, definitely. I would do anything for you to figure out who Eduardo is.
We'd like to get you over to the hospital for that.
No, I would totally do that, but I really am. I just want to get some food and take a minute, and I can drive myself to the hospital.
Are you wanting to leave right now?
I'm really hungry. I'm thirsty. Look at my lips; they're chapped.
Can you give me just a few minutes?
She said that I would be able to go.
And I'm not saying that you can't. I'm asking if you can give me a few minutes. That's all.
I can. If you can, you just call me, or I have to maintain my mental health in this whole situation.
Sit down on the couch.
Sir, I can't breathe. I'm just asking you to open the door.
Here I even have what you entered in your phone. The stuff that you've entered and deleted, like blood is spurting from an arterial bleed, direct pressure not controlling.
Do what? I didn't look this up.
Somebody did from your phone. I don't like my stepson.
No.
I don't like my stepson. Should I get a divorce? How to get blood out of sheets.
Out of sheets?
Mm-hmm.
She placed his body inside a suitcase and transported it across multiple states. Weeks later, Gannon's remains were discovered inside that suitcase under a bridge in Florida. Investigators concluded that the crime was motivated by deep resentment that Stauch held toward Gannon and her husband, fueled by marital conflict. Throughout the investigation, Stauch tried to portray herself as a victim. Stauch was arrested in South Carolina in March 2020 and was extradited to Colorado to face multiple counts, including first-degree murder.
She keeps threatening me.
Stop.
Well, she keeps threatening
Stop.
me.
Stop it.
Well, she keeps on threatening me. I have stopped it. She keeps on. Well, she got out of the restraints.
During her sentencing in 2023, Stout showed little emotion and remained mostly expressionless as Gannon's parents delivered their victim impact statements.
For 3 years, I have tried to forgive you, but I can't. I want to. But no parent should have to bury their child. No parent should have to see or hear the horrific things you have done to the whole family. She has taken away the most precious gift in this world. Not just my family, not Al's family, but your own family. She destroyed dozens of lives of people who never wanted to believe that she could have done this.
Stalk is currently serving her sentence in a Kansas facility, having been transferred there for security reasons. The next killer took things a step further, weeping and blaming her mental health for her actions.
So what happened?
He was born in the bathtub, so he had some breathing issues at first, but they'd gotten a little better.
This is Cheyenne Harris. In 2017, Harris, then 19 years old, was responsible for the death of her 4-month-old son, Sterling Coyne. On August 30th, first responders were called to Harris's apartment in Alta Vista, Iowa, only to discover Sterling's body in a motorized baby swing. It was later determined that Sterling was left for days at a time in the swing inside a dark, hot, and filthy room, separate from where Harris and the child's father, Zachary Coyne, slept. At the time of his death, he had been left in the same diaper for about 14 days. The diaper had become infested with flies and maggots that eventually began feeding on the baby's skin. Sterling's condition deteriorated rapidly, and by the time authorities intervened, it was too late. Harris, together with Sterling's father, Zachary, was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and child endangerment. During her 2019 trial, Harris appeared remorseful and quietly wept in court.
About 4 ounce bottle at that time, just depending on whether it was his morning feeding or whether it was his night feeding or whether he was just wanting a snack,
But the jury didn't buy the act, or her claims that depression and PTSD left her mentally unable to care for her child.
State of Iowa versus Cheyenne Harris, FECR 011490. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree. Count 2, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of child endangerment causing the death of a child.
Harris was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Pursuant to statute, you are sentenced to serve the remainder of your natural life in a facility provided by the Iowa Department of Correctional Services.
And is currently serving her sentence at the Iowa Correctional Institution for Women. Though the next killer was calm and detached, she said something quite bizarre during her sentencing.
I know for a fact that my children are happy and busy in the spirit world.
This is Lori Vallow Daybell, aka the Doomsday Mom. Beginning September 2019, Lori, then 46 years old, along with her husband Chad Daybell, became the central figures in a string of killings involving Lori's children and romantic rivals across Rexburg, Idaho, and Chandler, Arizona. It all started on July 11, 2019, when Lori's ex-husband, Charles Vallow, was shot and killed. Then Lori's 16-year-old daughter, Tylee Ryan, and 7-year-old adopted son, Joshua Jackson Vallow, disappeared from their home. A couple of weeks later, Chad Daybell's ex-wife, Tammy, was murdered at their home in Rexburg. Prosecutors determined that Lori conspired with Chad Daybell and her brother, Alex Cox, to get rid of anyone standing in the way of their relationship and financial goals.
Chad, where are Lori's kids? What happened to Tammy, Chad? Can you tell us what happened to Tammy? Why have you guys been in Hawaii for so long? Listen, just tell people what's happening. There's people around the country praying for your children, praying for you guys. Why don't you give us answers?
That's great.
That's great. That's great that they're praying for you, praying for your kids, what?
In June 2020, investigators uncovered the children's mutilated remains buried on Chad's property. Lori was arrested in February 2020 in Hawaii and charged with multiple counts of first-degree murder and conspiracy. During sentencing, Lori was calm and detached, claiming her children were in a happy place.
I know for a fact that my children are happy and busy in the spirit world.
Lori received multiple life sentences without parole in Idaho, plus 2 additional consecutive life sentences in Arizona. Enjoyed the video? Like and subscribe so that you don't miss the next one.